All right, man. Man, it's your host right now, Jesus Hawthorne, and I'd like to welcome you to Talk That Talk 254. And ladies and gentlemen, you ain't gonna believe what we got for you tonight, man. Man, we got us a legend. We got us a legend tonight, man. Mr. Dwight Johnson, former Waco
Yeah.
High alumni, class 95, Baylor, bro, former Philadelphia Eagles and New York
Yep.
Giants, man. And right now, man, he's like the D line whisperer. You know what I'm saying? You let me tell it, man.
Yeah.
I've been following my classmate for a while now.
Yes, sir.
So how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing good, Big Jesus, man. How about yourself?
Man, I can't complain, brother. I can't complain. I know you took this interview at a short time, man, and I really appreciate
Yes,
you
sir.
doing that. The word on the street, man, is you in Boulder? You in Boulder
I'm
right
in
now?
Boulder, yeah. I'm up here at University of Colorado, man, taking care of some business on the back end, man, and stuff
Hey,
like that, making some networking and making some connections.
hey, man, that's what it's all about, man. Now, you probably have been watching the show or whatever, man, but I let it be known, man. I said I'm a big time Boulder fan. I like what Dion is doing up there in that direction. So to see you in the area, boy, that's a whole lot of joy in the heart right now, man. A whole lot of joy in the heart. So
Amen.
that's about Dion and Boulder because they got plenty of press, man. It's about you right now. It's all about you tonight, man. So
Yes, sir.
for the people don't know, man, who are you? Like who are your parents and your siblings, man? Where you come from?
Well, hey, man, I come from Waco, Texas, East Waco, of course, born and raised in Sharondale, 1812 King Cove Drive. Oh man, went to all the way up Viking Hills, middle school, Lake Care, then Waco High, and on to Baylor, just like you said. But my people, man, are my father. First of all, is from Waco. His name is Wayne A. Johnson, senior. He's deceased. He's been deceased for 17 years now. And every time I come back to Waco, people they see me and they say, "You remind me of him. You talk like him." He had 7 children, and out of all of them, I look like him the most. He
That's
marked me
awesome,
out of
man.
everybody.
You
We
know,
all look like
hey,
him in our own special way, but he
yeah,
gave me a little extra.
hey, ain't nothing
And
wrong with it. Ain't,
yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
and he's well known. He was he had his own construction business in Waco, Texas. Went to Carver High School, was a standout basketball player. A lot of people know his whole family. They was all family athletes and things. The
Oh, okay.
Johnson family. Then on the other side is my mom. My mom was no well known school teacher for almost 50 plus years in just the WISD school district. She came in 74, 75, married my father, had us. But
Yeah.
she spent most of her tenure at Carver High School, Carver sixth grade center. That's where I met you
Yeah.
at.
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
think we was all on the same block, man.
Yep.
I think it was block five.
Absolutely.
I was in block
Absolutely.
five.
Yep.
But
That's where I
she
was
was
at.
a
Yep.
40-year school teacher, retired back in 2009, but she stays active in the community and in that church we grew up in, St. Paul AME Church. She's always active, on work doing stuff for the church and the community.
Man, that's awesome. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Okay, let's break down the siblings, man. Because this
Yeah.
opportunity to give everybody a shout out, man.
Well, I got to start my brother. Well, first of all, start my brother Dwayne. My brother Dwayne is a year older than me. We was like Irish twins. You know what I mean? We did everything together. We got in trouble together. We fought together. Somebody
Yeah.
fighting him, then they had to fight me, and vice
Yeah.
versa. We
Yeah.
always had each other back growing up.
Yeah.
So that's my ace, man. Then my
Yeah.
sister Daphne,
That's,
which is she's an educator in the WISD school district as well. And Daphne's 2 years under me. She graduated in '96, so she graduated a
yeah.
year after us and
Yeah.
everything. And we call her baby girl. So she got
Yep.
three awesome children, and Dwayne has one. And then you have my little baby brother Derrick, which the whole world know about Derrick.
Everybody know about Derrick, man.
Everybody
For
know
those that
about
don't
Derrick
know,
Johnson.
we talking about Derrick Johnson. For those that's under a rock, they ain't got a clue. We talking about
Exactly.
yeah,
You
he was
got
the
to know
Kansas
about Derrick
City Chief
Johnson.
middle linebacker, Derrick Johnson. Yeah, He's a
Future
byproduct.
Hall of Famer, all-time leading tackling, Kansas City Chief history, all that. But what a lot of people don't know is there wouldn't have been a Derrick Johnson if it wasn't for a Dwight Johnson. Setting an example for him. You know what I mean? He was always a snotty-nosed kid following me. When I was in 12th grade, he was in the 6th grade. He knew all my stats.
Yeah.
He like, hey, I'm following my brother. If I sneeze, he sneeze.
Yeah.
He wanted to follow in the footsteps. And little brother always supposed to do. I always say this.
You got some technical difficulties.
Blazed the trail, but he blew up the trail. I blazed up the family, but Derrick come behind me, man, and he knocked down all those trees, man. I said, what is this big old demolition going on, man? There's a whole bunch of dynamite behind me. But I'm so proud of him, man. He's done a great job, man. And even to this day, he always sees me. That's my big brother. He'll call, and when he come and see me in Atlanta, he don't rent no car, and he expect his brother to come pick him up. And he follow me around just like he always followed me around when we was kids. You know what I mean? Like, this my big brother. So, man, that's what I love about it, man. I love his humility over the years.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I also have 3 other brothers. I don't want to. My dad had 3 other children before he married my mom. I got to give a shout out to Lil Wayne. Well, excuse me, I don't call him Lil Wayne no more, but Wayne Johnson, the second. Then Glenn, which was deceased. He died my 9th grade year. Was shot at a basketball game, man. Innocent bystander. It was sad. It was March 3rd, 1992. We was in the 9th grade. A sad situation. But outside of that, then Jamon Johnson was my daddy's 3rd oldest boy. So out of all his 7 children, out of all, 1 is deceased. So 6 of us are living and doing well for ourselves.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear, man. Sorry about the condolences on the deceased. I remember that back in 1992. All right, so as a kid, man, what sports was you playing? Like, of course, you went to NFL playing football, did your thing with the college playing football. But growing up, what all sports was you active in? Like, what all was you doing?
That's a great question. But listen, I grew up tough, man. So I started out as a boxer. My uncle Maurice, we call him Uncle Teeny. He had us boxing in the country when we go down to East Texas in the summertime. So that was my first love, was boxing. So that's where I get the dog, or that mental toughness, or that aggression, that grit. I got it from that. And every Friday night in elementary, like, let's say once we got by in the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, we have Friday night fights. So we kind of rope off our front yard, because we never could grow grass in our front yard. Why? Because we was always boxing and had wrestling matches. So those were my first 2 loves, man, to be honest with you, man. I was just a boy that loved to play outside and box and wrestle, just like all the other kids in the neighborhood and stuff. So that's where I got that grit from. And outside of that, I played a little basketball. It was cool then. But football, I started playing for the Elks in the 5th grade. Played for the Elks. I think Tony the Great was our head coach during that time, man. School of Hard Knocks got me right. I didn't like football starting off, man. Jesus, I really did, man, because it was new to me. I came to practice on the first day with some purple Converse on.
Oh man, something found the Converse. Oh man,
that's back then in '87 when we had the different color Converses and stuff. I had me some purple ones, man. You could tell I didn't know nothing about football really. But but I learned pretty fast, man. I played a few games, and I wanted to quit, but my mama wouldn't let me quit, man. She wouldn't let me quit. You know what I mean? She said, "You're gonna start something, you're gonna finish it." And I finished the season. Then after the season, I didn't play my 6th grade year because they really didn't have football for 6th graders. Then my 7th grade year is when I really got back into playing football. Because when I got there, I was like, hey, I ain't gonna be sitting in the stands watching all my friends like Cooley Ward and Ron O'Neal and Tyrone Claiborne, all them play. I'm gonna play too. So that's how I developed my love to play football. Then in the 7th grade, that's when I stopped boxing. I just started really focusing on football. So football, then I did some track as well. I lettered in track too.
Okay, awesome. So in regarding of youth football, so I guess from like the Elks through middle school, who was the most influential in your training? Football player, like who developed you in those period of times in your life?
So you said during my elementary and middle school, who was most influential coach?
Yeah, coach,
or player.
Whoever, like who helped you to develop as a player. It don't matter who it was, whether it was a coach, another player, another classmate, or whoever. Like who
well, that's a great question. Well, you know just as well as I know, when we was coming up, we didn't have all these sports performance gyms like mine. You know,
Yeah,
it's what we
yeah,
did in the but we throw them up, eat them up. You know how they throw the
yeah,
ball up, eat them up in the backyard. You know, that's
yeah,
just what we knew. We didn't have all this, man. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So I would say my peers that really sharpened me and really gave me the love for the game. I'm gonna be straight honest with you. One of the main ones is Ronald Neal. Ronald Neal
Okay.
will come around in seventh grade, right before we got a school start. We can go tour. They play. He had a ball in his hand. Hey man, let's go out. Hey, let's go run. Let's go practice, man. And we get out there, man. We be doing our push-ups and our sprints, and we getting ready for the football season. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so that's what really kind of just gave me and Ron kind of fed off each other, man, and things like
Okay.
that. Of course, Corley Ward. Corley Ward was
Okay.
another strong kid because we all come up together from before we all went to the daycare center. Neil's mom had a daycare center called Firm Foundation. So me, Corley Ward, Ronald, Alfred Freeman, we was all
Okay.
together from like 3 years old all the way up. So we always had a real tight relationship, man. So that
Wow.
Lake Care group, me, Ronald, and Corley. Who else was on that squad?
Joe
Tyrone
Bishop.
Claiborne. It was a few other guys that I
Yeah.
remember that kind of just like we just made each other better because we competed hard against each other. Everybody
Yeah.
wanted to beat Corley Ward, but Corley Ward was the biggest and the strongest at that time. They kind of
Yeah.
developed before we did. And
Yeah.
if you can tackle Corley, man, or hang
Yeah,
on
that
for dear life,
was
or hang on for dear life, man,
man,
shit,
oh man,
hey, then you
I
doing
promise
something.
you, you said it, but I was like, man, we used to call him the bull. You used to call him like
The
it
bull.
was a horse race time, and you were trying to get in front of Corley. Everybody knew it too. Like, hey, it's a do or die situation. You're like, man,
Yeah, there's a
you
dude say, hey, you have to make a business decision.
because he's around high.
But
He was
man, but
already big and strong. Then he ran with high knees, and he was dropping
he
kick
run
on
it.
everybody.
He always had that little.
Oh, look like a bull. Look like a bull trying to hit that dude. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the next question, and this is mostly for the parents, because everybody trying to gauge, like, okay, exactly where they child at in the development. How tall were you, and what was your weight when you was in the ninth grade?
So that's a great question. Well, I started to hit my growth spurt in ninth grade. So when I started the
Okay.
ninth grade, I was 6'1", 165 pounds. I
Okay.
was
Six
tall and
foot one.
skinny.
Yeah.
I was tall and skinny,
65 pounds.
but
Okay.
but I gained 30 pounds. But by the end of my ninth grade year, when we went to spring training, I weighed 195 pounds. So I gained 30 pounds in one school year of
One
muscle because
school.
that's when we really started lifting weights. That's when we got in the
Okay.
off season in December, with Coach Stanley, Coach
Yeah.
Boggis,
Yeah.
James Harris. I mean, they
Yeah.
had us right, they had us on the weights, man, and getting us right. Now I went from 165 to 195. The end, I think I grew to about 6'2", a little bit over 6'2" and a half. Grew about an inch
Okay.
and a half. Yep.
Okay.
But I really just started taking football serious, and I really started taking it serious because when I lost my brother, I was kind of headed down the wrong path because I was becoming guilty by association, hanging with the wrong crowd, things like that. And that was that fork in the road to where
Mm.
it woke me up.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I need to do something better with my life. And that's when I just started engulf and start focusing on football and things like
Okay.
that. In my ninth grade year, I became just strictly focused on football, man, and becoming a great football player. And every ninth grader or even middle schooler want to play for the Waco High Lions. You want to have that
Yes,
red
sir.
helmet on
Red
Friday night
helmet.
with the lion on the
Red
side of your
helmet.
head. All of us,
Awesome.
man, we
Yeah.
aspire to be that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I got tunnel vision. I got a goal in mind of how I saw myself, my 10th grade year, my 11th grade year, or even my 12th grade year. I was going to be the
Okay.
man. And
Yeah.
that's when I got focused, man, locked in.
Okay. So what do you think that separated you from the other athletes in the region during your high school years? And
Great
exactly
question.
what grade was you when you got your first offer? Well, you know what?
Great
Let's answer that
question.
first. What separated you first? What separated you
So
from
what
your
so what
peers?
separated me first was my work ethic, and I was big and strong, man. I had a lot of field strength, but just my work ethic and of course my size. I had a lot of size. Jesus. By the time I was a senior, I stood 6'4", 6'5", 250
Yeah.
pounds. I really stood out. amongst the crowd, but I just want big. So some kids got 70% size and 30% talent. I wasn't like that. I had the size and the talent. And man, I just stood out of just balling and working hard, man, and just really becoming a pillar on that Waco High defense pretty much my junior and senior year. So it just stepped up, and the other guys that really made me better. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I got to 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, you talking about Charles Foster, you talking about Marvin Mullins. We all feeding off each other. We all like, man, you got a letter, man. I got a letter for Notre Dame. You got one, I got one for Tennessee. We just trying to make each other better, man, and stuff like that.
Okay, what grade were you in when you got your first letter? What was that feeling like when you walked into the Coach Deuce and Coach Deuce would hand you that letter like boom? Who
man.
Your first letter?
So it was spring training of my 10th grade year. So you're talking about May of my 10th grade year, the end of my 10th grade year. I got my first letter from, guess who? Baylor.
Wow.
I got my first letter from Baylor, man. Yeah. And Baylor was the first one to give me a letter, and it was the last one to get me, man. You know what I mean? So Baylor was, I got my first letter. Then after that, I started getting them, rapid fire. Back then, they throw them in your locker. So you go to your locker, your red locker, you just say, here's another letter, here's another letter. And they just kept adding up. So I get them crates. I bring them home, and I drop them in the crate.
Okay. So who was your top 3 schools at that time? We know you chose Baylor, but every athlete had a top 3, and you had to narrow it down. Who was within your top 3 at that time?
So my top 3 schools at that time outside of Baylor was Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas Tech.
Okay.
Arkansas was my first visit I took in December. Then I went to Texas Tech the next weekend on official visit. Then I went to Oklahoma. Okay. I've really verbally committed. I verbally committed to Oklahoma, Jesus. I committed to Oklahoma, man. A lot of people don't know. Yeah, it was in the Dallas Morning News. Dwight Johnson. What's that?
I said they heard it here first, man. He actually verbally committed to Oklahoma. So what was it about Baylor? What was it about Baylor they was able to snatch you away, man? What was it about Baylor?
Man, that's crazy. So I went to Oklahoma, was my 4th visit. I was gonna cancel the visit to Baylor. To be honest, I go to the Baylor games all the time. And the Baylor D-line Coach Mike Booger, came to me and said, "Now, Johnson, you got to give us the chance now. Now you can't shit on us now." That's basically what he said. He said, "Now you can't shit on us, Johnson. Now, come on, you got to give us a chance." He came to Waco High, man, during lunchtime, and told me. I said, "All right, Coach, man, I'm on," because he heard it. He saw it that I committed to Oklahoma, and then that last weekend, which was Super Bowl Sunday weekend, when the 49ers played the San Diego Chargers. That's when I went on my visit, to Baylor, man. I had a great time, man. Had a great time, and I saw it from a different light. I'm like, man, this is cool. And Baylor during that time had just won the Southwest Conference. People don't understand that. Baylor just tied and went in the Southwest Conference with Texas. So them two won it because A&M got in suspension trouble, and they kicked him out. So we was the next up in line, us in Texas. So Baylor was a good team. They was a 7-5 team, just played in the Alamo Bowl. So they was a mid-level team, you know what I mean? And Oklahoma at the time had just got a new head coach. That was Coach Howard Schnellenberger. Everybody know the famous Coach Howard Schnellenberger that turned University of Miami around. He came to my house with the cigar, with the pipe. And you know what I mean? He had about 20 people in the front yard. I think he wooed me. You know what I mean? Like I was starstruck. I ain't gonna lie, 17-year-old kid coming in the house, hanging out, talking to all the kids in the neighborhood. He wooed me, man. So I was like, dang. And I went on a visit there, and I knew I was going to Oklahoma. But when I went on that next week to Baylor and I saw it, I knew my heart was with Baylor. So I came back, and the D-line coach came to my house, and my brother Dwayne, when he walked in the door, my brother Dwayne just did this, sick 'em bears, like that. And the D-line coach just started smiling. He already knew. What was up. And I told him, I said, I'm on decommit, and I'm coming to Baylor. And that's where it started.
Okay. So, in regarding as a person and a football player, who were some of the mentors that you had at Baylor?
Great question. So I'm going to always give respect to where respect is due. One of the first mentors I ever had at Baylor, and I give him respect to this day, is for Curtis Jones. Okay. Curtis Jones was a senior all conference linebacker, you know, 4th-round draft pick. I mean, I was a freshman, he was a senior. He took me and Charles Foster under his wing, man, and he looked out for us. You know, when they tried to initiate us and jump us in the locker room, I was fighting them. About 10 of them grabbed me, picked me up in the air, and they had me up in there. Then here come Curtis Jones. Yo, cut that stuff out. And they dropped me and took off running. I was like, I said, man, I didn't know Curtis had that much power on the team, man. But he was like, man, you all right, man? Y'all leave my Waco boy alone, you know? And so Curtis Jones, first of all. The second ones, I would say Rod Kenny and Sheldon Mallory. Sheldon Mallory was my host, which he was 2 grades ahead of me. He was my host when I went to Baylor on my visit. He was real good. And Rod Kenny, you know, they were like best friends, man. They always was there for me, you know what I mean? Showing me the ropes and stuff, even though I was behind them, especially Sheldon Mallory. And Sheldon was a junior and I was a redshirt freshman, so I played behind him. Then he broke his ankle, or hurt his ankle the third to the last game of the season against Texas A&M, and that's when I took over the starting job and stuff like that. But I would give credit to those guys. As far as coaching, I would say Coach McCullough, and he's still coaching to this day. But Coach Andy McCollum, and he's at a smaller school now, but he was a D coordinator at Baylor, man. And our first year was my freshman year. They was number 5th in the country in total defense, you know. And he had like 6 guys drafted on that team in that 1996, so at 95 football season, but 96 draft. Yeah. So those are guys that I can just think of off the top, man, to kind of just help my transition from high school to college football, you know, smoother.
All right. So what would you say was like your best experience as a football player at Baylor, the team you had at Baylor? What was your best experience there?
I would say this. My best experience at Baylor was when we beat University of Texas, man, and tore down the goalpost. That was in 1997, man, and I was defensive player of the game, man. I tell you, that was one of the proudest moments, man. We stopped old Ricky Williams, held Ricky Williams to about 130 yards, which was good. The whole Ricky Williams to 130 yards. Because Ricky was averaging 200 yards a game.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Ricky was probably 2 and some change on teams. Like, you know.
Exactly.
With hindsight being always been 2020, if you can go back, change the hands of time, what would be something that you would like to, if you wish you could have improved in your experience at Baylor?
Well, you know, I went through 3 head coaches at Baylor and 4 defensive coordinators. So the first thing I would, you know, it was kind of hard to, you know, because kids can't transfer. Like when a coach leaves, in our time, we had to stay and wait for the new coach to come in. You see what I'm saying? And kind of see what he does with us. You know what I mean? But it was different. I would say the only things Baylor taught me a lot of things. They taught me how to really be sound on playing the run. Because back then when we played ball, it was a run-first league, especially with the Big 12. It was a smash mouth. You had Nebraska, you had Kansas State, you got Texas A&M, you got Texas. They're going to run the ball at least about 65% of the time. You know, it was just a smash mouth conference. So playing the run was what I did great. You know, and when I rushed the passer, it was I never had a coach to teach me how to rush the pass until I got to the NFL, man. That's the crazy thing about it. What I learned was basically when Derrick Gardner, which was our 1st-round draft pick, he was another mentor of mine. After my freshman year, he was drafted 1st round. And he used to always come back in the offseason and work with us D linemen, man. He'll work with Rod and Sheldon. He worked with us on pass rush and things like that. So, but he wasn't there consistently. I wish I had a coach to teach me more about pass rush. Even though I had sacks, don't get me wrong, but the sacks I got was just off pure just domination and just being strong and will and relentlessness. It wasn't technique, to be honest with you. And I would say this, my junior year was my best year. My junior year was my best year, and I got some all-conference honors. If I would have known, I should have asked the agent. I probably should have came out my junior year.
Okay.
Being that, you know, because after my junior year, they fired the coach and they brought in another coach. So my senior year was my second best year, but my junior year was my best year. You see what I'm saying? Like I feel that my numbers were higher. my stats were better my junior because I played defensive end and defensive tackle, played across the front.
Okay. So while you was at Baylor, what was your major? And how does that major support you now?
Great question. My major started out as business accounting. Then it switched. That didn't work because, it just took up too much time with the study groups and with practice and football. It didn't work. So I changed to business finance. Then business finance worked better. Then I was like, at the end of the day, I graduated with a business administration degree. So, a bachelor's in administration. So it helps me like in everything that I'm doing. I own 3 gyms now. So, but it helps me keep the admin, the CRM, like the numbers, like everything from payroll to the marketing to the whole operation of the business. I got to know how to run it because you can't just be a trainer in this business. If you see your mind as a trainer, a person will always be a trainer. I tell these people, it don't take no guts to be a trainer. You hear what I'm saying? Anybody can be a trainer and get online, do some fancy drills and get a lot of likes and a lot of follows. I said, but it's about being a businessman. That's what I wanted the most. But everybody ain't gonna take that step to be the best businessman. My goal now is I done created 3 great gyms. Our goal is continue to develop great gyms, you know what I mean, and great businesses. And by seeing myself as a businessman and putting the business in front of myself. Total Athlete is a brand itself, you know what I mean? It ain't got like when people see Total Athlete, they don't think sometimes when they first started they think of Dwight Johnson. Now, Total Athlete, man, they do some great training there. You know, I put myself behind my brand.
Awesome. Hey, once again, man, that's Total Athlete. I'm gonna have the link. I'm gonna have the link in the description, man. Make sure y'all follow that. And where are the locations? You say you got 3 gyms. Where are they located?
Yeah, great question. So my second gym it's an adult fitness partnership. It's Represize. It's like you got the parents to go drop the kids off on the speed and agility side for the athletes. Then you walk over across. I got a whole nother side: spin classes, step aerobics, hip hop aerobics, adult boot camp, you name it. On the other side called Total Fit Lifestyle. So they came in. We merged with them back in January of 2024, January 15th. So that's a whole side that a lot of people don't even know about. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of parents, but we got a big community as well. Then I have a basketball gym called TA Basketball Academy. We got 2 full-size courts. We mainly rent it out to AAU basketball teams that need just practices. And we also do like weekend tournaments. And we also have our own basketball skill training classes during the week.
So, Total Athlete, like how many people are incorporated into your staff? And is there anybody in particular that you would like to give a shout out at this time?
Well, like I'm here right now, but Total Athlete is still operating. So like it's 5:31. I'm Mountain West in Colorado. It's 7:31 back where I'm at. So we're finishing up our last class. So I want to thank all my staff. All 10 of them, my coaches that are there on both sides that are doing the training and keeping the ship going, keeping the wheels turning to where I'm there or not there, it's still going to go because a lot of times when you're a trainer, everything starts and stops with you. But when you're a businessman, you learn to duplicate yourself and you create a system that operates and is simple, effective, and efficient at all times, and is running itself. And I can go to sleep after this meeting and relax and know that money's still gonna be coming through that gym. You see what I'm saying? Because I train the right people to do this job.
Keyword: you train the right people, man. That's beautiful, dog.
Yes,
that's big.
You have to duplicate yourself. Yes,
that's a nugget right there. That's a nugget right there. All right, so let's bring it back to football. Let's bring it back to football. What was your introduction to the NFL?
Great question. So, of course, I went to the NFL combines. Everybody pulled this stuff up. I did all that. NFL combines. I played in the Senior Bowl, and I'm coming off of a losing Baylor team, a 1-10 Baylor football team, and I was number 16 defensive tackle in the nation on a 1-10 Baylor football team. Senior Bowl, blue and gray all-star game, combine. I did all that stuff. I was in the same class with Tom Brady, Brian Urlacher, all them
Yeah.
guys. You know, we was all in the same class, man. So I was introduced to the NFL. I was supposed to get drafted, but the NFL stands for this. You know, the draft doesn't mean that they don't want you, but they're gonna try to find people for cheap. Now they're gonna pay a handful of guys a lot of money, then everybody else they try to get a deal on. Because the NFL draft is based off of how can we get you cheaper. Trying to find reason to get you cheap. Okay, if your numbers were down your senior year compared to your junior year, he can slip some rounds. You know what I mean? They trying to find excuses to get you cheaper. So I tell these guys that we're training for the NFL Combine, listen, the less excuses you give them, the less chance they ain't gonna be able to pay you less. You know, they want you, but they just want you at a deal. That's all it is. So, you know, I went through, man, first through seventh round, wasn't even drafted, coming as a rookie free agent, man. But a lot of people don't know I had 15 teams jockeying for a position to get me as a priority rookie free agent. There's a difference. When you're a priority rookie free agent, meaning you should have been drafted, but now you can pick and choose what football team you want to play for. You know what I mean? And at the time, it was the Philadelphia Eagles. They offered me the most money, and it was the need for me to go play defense. They needed a hammer defensive end, a big defensive end that can play the run. So that's why I went with them, and they paid me just as much as a 6th, 7th round draft pick for a signing bonus. Because nowadays, a free agent can get just as big of a signing bonus as a 6th, 7th round draft pick, man, like it was when I was coming up.
Hey, people, take notes. Parents, take notes. Athletes, take notes. That's why we having this conversation. All right. So, what do you believe once you got in the facility? What do you believe what separated you from everybody else that was at their training camp trying to make the team? Why did the spotlight get on you?
That's a great question, man. Well, you know, the first day of training camp, I break this finger right here. You see my ring finger is broken?
Yeah.
It always reminds me of the struggle of what I had to go through to make it. When I broke that finger, they told me, man, said, Johnson, you can't practice. That's what the trainer said. I said, nah, so you got to cut it off, tape it up, put a splint on it. Listen, I come all the way from Waco, Texas, man. I got to make it.
You about to do the running lot, huh? You about to do the running lot.
Exactly. Hey, man, because I want to make my plan A work, Jesus. I want to give myself a plan B. When I left Waco, July the 19th of 2000 to go to training camp, I had already got my college degree. All right, because I got that back in December of the end of the year of 99. Then I was like, okay, I'm just going, you know, I gave my little brother, Derrick, the one that's an all Hall of Famer. He was going to the 12th grade. I gave him my car.
Yeah.
So that letting you know in my mind that I don't plan to come back a loser.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let my plan A work. I kissed my mom and I'm going to make the team. You know, and I went off, and I remember every day in practice, I fight hard, man. The first play, you have to get their attention. I'm kicking butt in one-on-one pass rush. Bam, 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 bam. Well, what this guy? Oh, this is the Dwight Johnson kid from Baylor University out of Waco, Texas. In my mind, then the coach would try to motivate me. He was like, Johnson, you better get it right because I made mistakes, because I bet I made rookie mistakes, you know, but I kept making it up, making plays. He said, Johnson, I'm going to cut your ass today. I'm going to send your ass back to Waco. You better get it right. And I guess that was, you know, how he motivated me. But I told him, I said, Coach, I ain't going back to Waco, man. Not like this. I told him. I laughed. I said, I ain't going back to Waco, Coach. I said, unless, you know, it be an off season, but I ain't going back right now. You know what I mean? And every day I fought and scraped, man, hard to make it, man. Beat out 20 guys for a roster spot for the Philadelphia Eagles, man. Even though I was a priority rookie free agent. You know, I beat out guys that was 4th and 5th year guys that had already been making money and got the experience, you know? So, yeah, I had to really prove myself, man.
That how bad do you want it mentality, man.
That's how bad do you want it to make your plan A work. Don't give yourself a plan B, because when it get hard, plan B stands for backup plan. You know what I mean? I like, now plan A means I'm all in. That's what it stands for. That A means you all in, baby. You got to be, to make anything work in life, you got to be all in. You can't be got 1 foot in, 1 foot You got to sell out for it. You know what I mean? For your dreams. And that's what I did.
Awesome. So while you was up there in the NFL, kicking butt and taking names, who did you model your game after? Because you said you realized when you left Baylor, there were certain things that they didn't teach you, you had to learn on the fly. So when you was up there, who gave you some additional mentorship that made you a better pass rusher, so that way you became a well-rounded defensive end?
So great question. Hugh Douglas. Hugh Douglas was somebody that, you know, took us under his wing because he was just coming. When my rookie year, he was just leaving. He was just coming in from the New York Jets, so he was new also. So he was in like training camp. You got to come. We came like 3 days earlier to learn the system because he was a new free agent. I was a rookie free agent. So Hugh Douglas taught me a lot of stuff on flipping your heads, man, shot club rep, man, bending the corner, leaning, man, coming off the ball low, man, trying to get to the hip, closing space. He taught me a lot of stuff, man, a lot of things that I do now that I teach my guys. And also, you know, Michael Strahan, even though I eventually ended up going to the Giants after I left the Eagles, I was already studying Michael Strahan, you know, but them two guys, man, I really, yes. And the crazy thing about me, I was a swing man. I could play the inside and the outside. So on the inside, I modeled my game after a big dude named Hollis Thomas. Hollis Thomas was a big cat, man. And he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. He taught me some stuff on how to pass rush as well. Paul Grass-Manis, another guy, big white boy from Notre Dame that was a few years older than me, man. He taught me some things. They took me under their wing and showed me some stuff when I was at Philadelphia.
Okay, so we're going to transition. What, from all the experience, I understand, man, Waco High, Baylor, Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, you got a whole bunch of information going on. What were 3 things that you taught your brother early that you learned late? Because I know you said every time you taught your brother, he stayed on hip and he was steady learning. So what were some things that he was able to incorporate in his game early that you learned late?
Well, I feel that's a great question. All your questions, man, you're doing an awesome job. One thing I can say about, you know, the first thing I can say about Derrick is, listen, just relentlessness. Never take your foot off the gas pedal. Never take it on and off. You know, I mean, really, like straight up, like, because my little brother was there when he saw me, I did get drafted. Now, honestly, little brothers can learn from my success. He learned from my success now, don't get me wrong. But he also learned from my failures too. He learned from, you know, seeing me not get drafted and be like, man, that was tough. My mom and family members were there, and you want to hear your name called on the ESPN at the bottom of the screen, and they said they were going to Jerry Jones call you, all gonna call you, but then again, the phone doesn't ring until after the end of the 7th round, and by that time they want to get you as a rookie free agent. So, hey, don't take your foot off the gas pedal. You better keep it on. You know what I'm saying? And so he saw that and it motivated him like, I can't let this happen to me. But that's why you see a lot of my little brother's fire and desire, man, and stuff that he was, you know what I mean? Because he saw his brother went through some hell. He like, man, that's what I got to do. You know what I mean? So that, you know, not take your foot off the gas pedal. The second one I would say is, I told him, just become a student of the game, man. Really, really learn your craft and your position. Derrick was the first person that I trained. He like at Baylor, I used to come home and Derrick used to come work out in the summertime with the Baylor football players. He right there with me working out, you know. he in 8th grade. And they like, man, your little brother, man, working out with you. So Derrick was just around it a lot. You see what I'm saying? Then the next one I would tell him was hey, get them grades right. You know what I mean? Keep them grades tight. You know what I mean? And stuff. Because I really got serious about my grades in the 9th grade when I saw a vision of me playing football. When I had that wake-up call after my brother had got shot and killed. But I knew that sometimes things happen for a reason. But when I was coming up, I was setting a good example for him. And I was like, and you know, I made a promise to myself, I'm gonna be a good example to my little brother. You know what I mean? And my little sister and everybody behind me.
So
say it again.
With you being alumni at Baylor, with him following you around at Baylor, how did your brother get to Texas?
Well, you know, the only thing is Baylor was down by that. See, when I went to Baylor, Baylor was up. But once you go through, you know, 3 head coaches, by that time, you know, my senior year, Baylor DJ junior year. So, you know, Baylor, man, 1-10. I wouldn't force him to go to Baylor. I wouldn't do that because I'm like, he ain't gonna be the savior. You know what I'm saying? You know, I told Derrick, man, you got to go where you make your own road, baby. Go where you want to go. So that's from Texas. But he always knew he wanted to go to Texas since his 9th grade year. That day, we beat Texas, that's when Derrick said, "Oh, I'm going to Texas. I'm going to Texas." I thought, how in the world you figure that out? We just drug him up and down the field. You talking about you want to go to Texas?
Hey, hey man, hey, that's a great story. Okay, so speaking of that, because as you hear, people as are hearing, he is mentoring his brother as we speak. So with that being said, what are four things that athletes should look for in a college program? You know, when you was looking at Baylor, you saw something that you needed to see, that you made your decision. What is four things a sophomore or junior right now that's looking? They got a couple of offers. What are four things they need to be looking for in their college football program?
Well, first of all, you need to look at it. You know, a lot of kids don't look at it anymore. Does it fit? Does this college have my major? A lot of kids ain't focusing on majors anymore, graduating. They just want to get the money and get to a big school or a Power Four school or whatever, a G5. But find a school that fits what you want to major in. First of all, I think that's the first thing. The next thing is find the best fit. Find the best fit. A lot of people go with the best offer. So I'm gonna go to University of Texas because University of Texas is the biggest and the best. But if
Yeah,
is University of Texas the best fit for you? Let's say you're a defensive lineman, and they probably got a lot of defense. It probably, you know what I mean. Do they play your style of play? Because a lot of times Texas are traditionally they're going to take guys that they can take up the run, and the linebacker is going to be able to make the plays. Of course, the D line going to make plays. Don't get me wrong, but if you're a slasher, a guy that like to pass rush the passer, I would
mm-hmm.
say go to school that's going to help. That's going to highlight what you do best. Don't go to an SEC school because that's a smash mouth conference. You see, if you one of them guys
Yeah,
that like you're a finesse guy, take your butt to
yeah,
a Big 12. And the Big 12 is different league from when we played, or
yeah,
ACC. Where they're gonna rush the passer more, but they're gonna pass the ball more. It ain't a smash. Body ain't gonna be beat up. A linebacker,
yeah.
your body ain't gonna be beat up when you get to your junior senior year. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I see it. And the third one is look at the depth chart. Look at the depth chart and check out the guys that do you fit match up with the guys that they're the ones that recruited you or the ones that quite like with my son, for instance. He's a 6 feet guy. He's not as big as tall as me. How tall are you,
Okay,
Jesus?
I'm literally 6 foot.
So my son's your height.
Okay.
So when I was looking at schools, I didn't look at Texas. I went with
Okay.
him, even before he got the offers from the school, even though he got offered by Georgia Tech, Kansas State,
Mm-hmm.
Kansas,
Yeah.
Vanderbilt. I was like, we're going to go with the schools that match your body style and your size. You see what I'm saying? Because they're going to give those
Yeah.
kids a shot. Then I also
Okay.
tell these kids, after all said and done, go where you number one.
Mm.
Find a school where you number one and go where you number one. Because if you go where I always ask the college coach, where am I at on your list? You know what I mean? Because when my son was signing, we had to talk to all the school 27 offers that he had. When we had to find out where he was number one and where they wanted him the
Mm.
most. And it came down to East
Okay.
Carolina, Tulane. It would have been Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech was going through a coaching change, and we didn't really kind of want to deal with that. You see what I'm
Gotcha.
saying? But it came down to those three schools, man, because a
Okay.
lot of kids got to understand you can get offered by a school. You may have 25 offers, but only 10 of them are committable.
Mm.
That's a whole nother ball game.
Whole nother
So
ball
you
game.
got to find where you can commit because you get that offer, you should be asked that coach, can I commit today? If that coach tell you, nah, just hold on and give you some bull coin, it ain't legit. It's just an
Legit.
offer.
He's just looking at you.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's, it's
I
not an
yeah.
official, committable offer.
Gotcha. Hey, that's big right there, man. That's big. So, with that being said, you said your son, he's in East Carolina. Who is your son? What's your son's name and what number is he?
So my son, his name is Dwight Johnson Jr. Everybody go by. His name is DJ. Been
DJ.
calling him
Okay.
DJ his whole life. He come out of the South Atlanta football schools, and he was defensive
Yeah.
player of the year, his junior year, first team All State, the last sophomore, junior, and senior year. He's just a kid, man, that loved to play football. And he was raised and he was groomed. You know, when he come out the womb, he was walking. I say down, he'd get down in his stand. So he just loved it. I never forced nothing on anybody, but it was just in his blood to play football and stuff like that. So he's Dwight Johnson Jr. He's number 11, East Carolina, and he is right now in the middle of competing for the starting job as a redshirt sophomore right now. You know, to be the starter. You know, with him, he's going against a senior. You know, it's going to work itself out. At the end of the day, the cream of crop always rises to the top and things. But he's in a good position. Just let me say that.
Well, I've been, you know, we've been classmates, class 95. I remember seeing him as a baby. I remember seeing him in his youth, because even in the youth, he was like a running back. We thought he was going to be a running back. Then he was on the defensive side of the ball. So it's like, it's crazy. Like, I know him, ain't never met him before a day in my life, but I've been following you because you was always posting good videos and things of that nature, just in his development. From, like I said, from youth football to middle school to high school to now he in East Carolina doing his thing, rocking that number 11. So,
yes, sir.
What do you believe is the difference between a Texas athlete and a Georgia athlete, if you had to do a comparison?
Great, man. Listen, man, that's a great question. That's a question a lot of people ask. I would say this: you line the best 100 Texas players with the best 100 Georgia players, they're gonna be about dead even. I'm gonna be honest with you. But the only difference is Texas got 5 times as many athletes as Georgia, because it's such a big state. You know, but it's at least 3. You know, it takes 3 Georgias to fit into 1 Texas at least. You see what I'm saying? So it's more of them. You know what I mean? So I think that's the main difference, to be honest with you. But if you look at the style of play, and they ballers too, man. Because you know, I'm never gonna knock my home state and say, oh yeah, but I really take a close look at it. I'm like, man, they Georgia got some ballers too, man.
Okay. All right. So what, as we transition, what made you open up the Total Athlete Gym program? What was the motivation behind it?
Well, you know, when I got out the NFL, man, I kind of didn't want nothing to do with the NFL. Of course, I didn't just retire and walk off into the sunset. We you know, it's a business. But after 5 years, man, I got cut, and I just wanted to bury it behind me, man. All my dreams, I put them on the shelf, put my cleats up high on the shelf, man. Everything about football, I didn't want to do nothing with it. I got in the restaurant business for 2 years and was doing that, man. And I found myself unfulfilled. I was like, man, I don't see myself frying chicken and cooking soul food, you know, I don't see myself doing that. Then after I said that, a truck driver walked in my gym, my restaurant, and said, hey, man, do you ever do football camps in this area? Because I was in the south side of Atlanta, Henry County. During that time was the 3rd fastest growing county in the United States. It's back in 2007, from 2003 to 2007. And I was like, nah, but it was a need for what I was doing. They was building a lot of new high schools down here because it was such a growing, fast-paced county. And there was nobody on the south side to do training. So I ended up selling my restaurant and start doing like football camps in June and July. And I noticed my first camp in June, I had like 40 kids show up. And I'm like, dang, man, for it to be a need, only 40 kids, that ain't nothing. Then the next month, it got the word out, I had 150. You know, I did it in July. Everybody was just finding out about us. They turned around the next year in 2008, did the same thing, got Nike to get behind me and sponsor all my camps. And I was like, I'm on to something. I need to do this year round. So, man, I end up finding a location, man. I was riding one day and I said, I need to find me a location, a designated location where I can start my business out of, even though I want my own building and this and that. So I like, God got me. So for some reason, I was at the Chick-fil-A at the light and I saw a sign that says Avalon Church, make a left. So I'm like, God, church, arrows. I made a left. Then I saw the sign that Avalon Church, turn right into this parking lot. I turned right into the parking lot, went all the way down to the end of that parking lot. Behind Avalon Church was this place called OTC Baseball. So OTC Baseball. I get out the car, go to the door, it says Speed and Agility Coach needed. I open the door, it was this big Caucasian white guy standing there.
Yeah.
Red as I don't know what. You think he wouldn't be in as invited. He said, I said, hey, my name's Dwight Johnson. I'm looking to start a program to train my football athletes, but do speed and agility for all athletes. He was like, yeah, man, I've been looking for somebody like you. Come on in. He said, man, listen, I can take my baseball nets and I can move them back so I can give you at least about 8 yards in width, but you have 40 yards in length where you can really like do a big class. I was like, man, this dude don't know me from a can of paint. Then he said, you need a weight room? I can put your weight room over here by my pitching mound. And he was like, you need an office? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I said, man, why this guy so nice to me? Then at the end of the day, I asked him the price and all that. He gave me a real cheap price. And I was like, is he for real? So I built my business, starting there from 2.5 years, man, to like over 200 kids. And it was really growing. And I went back to him and I found my own building, which was a 30,000 square foot facility off in a purchase. And I said, since you was good to me, man, I'm gonna be good to you. I need you to come in as a partner with me because I don't need to be in 30,000 square feet by myself. Hey, he was like, man, I got you. So he stepped out on faith with me, man. And we were business partners for 10 years until he retired like in 2018 and stuff like that. But yeah, man, but that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of how I got it started.
Okay. Well, for those, because you in Boulder right now.
Yes.
For those, when you follow this gentleman on IG, on Facebook, Total Athlete on Facebook and Instagram, you're gonna see a lot of pictures, red plaques, whole bunch of little red plaques all on the wall.
Yeah.
So give the people a breakdown of what those red plaques are and what do they mean to you.
So, those red, and I got this from Coach Tusa. He has something called a Hall of Fame. When we go back to Waco High in the field house, we see our names, our pictures on the Wall of Fame. Well, I want to do the same thing for a lot of my athletes that come out of our program, and we help, get them a scholarship. Of course, everybody wants to get a D1 scholarship. D2, I said, as long as it's D3, that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? So on that wall is our Wall of Fame of all the athletes that I trained before I even had a gym, going back to 2009, because we didn't open our gym in 2011. And it showcased all of those young people. And I said, these young people can know that they can come back and show their children. And if they're young, just getting started with their life, getting married, some of them are in their early 30s now. That's my name on the Wall of Fame of Total Athlete. Because everybody ain't going to go to their high school and look at their Wall of Fame, but more people going to come through Total Athlete than they come to their individual high school. You see what I'm saying? And they see their name plaque on the Wall of Fame and stuff. So over the years, we've had over 200 D1 college signees out of our program. Over 200. Yeah, that's just D1. You talking about D2. You might add another 50 to that. And stuff, but man, and to be crazy about it, some of the kids' names ain't on the wall. I ain't gonna lie, man. I got to go back and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that kid. I got a kid that's coming in the draft this year. His name is Tyler Booker from Alabama. He came down from Connecticut to train with me, and I used to train him in the camp circuits and stuff. Back when he was in 9th grade, he's gonna be a first round offensive guard, offensive center. Man. I was like, it's just so many, man, and I lose count of them.
Now, for those that don't know, because I've been following, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna run across some people who's gonna watch this video on YouTube that haven't been following you yet, so they got a lot of backtracking to do. He specialized in the beginning of big man. I remember some of your flyers. You had like the big man camp, so you put an emphasis on the O lineman and the D lineman, because. In today's time, that's kind of hard to find because everybody's gravitating to the skill players. But where you actually, you was willing to train any and everybody, but you was like a guy that specialized with the big guys. And out of the big guys that you have trained, expressed like over 200 on went the D1. How many have went to the NFL, and how many NFL players have you been training recently?
Yeah, so I had quite a few of them that have gone to the NFL. So, everybody know Will Anderson. He's one of my main guys. I've had him since the 9th grade. Isaac Rochelle is another young guy. Well, Isaac is retired now. He played about 6 years in the NFL. Come out of Notre Dame, played with the San Diego Chargers, Oakland Raiders. Another one that's still playing in the NFL is Dalvin Thomason. He's another big guy to come out of Alabama, playing with the Cleveland Browns, I think, and maybe Minnesota. But he's been in there since 2017. So he's talking about almost a 10-year career right there. Antoine Williams, linebacker that was drafted 5th round. He was at the Detroit Lions back in 2016 to 2018. I've had quite a few. Everybody know Keith Mitchell that's playing. His daddy, me and him are good friends. I'm not gonna take total credit, but just because that's his son, and his daddy played for the Baltimore Ravens and won a Super Bowl with him. But Keith Mitchell's come to our gym to work out with his father and us and things like that. Chris Rodriguez, the running back that's playing for the Washington Redskins, another young man that come out of our gym that's been training with us. Trey Dean is another young man that is playing for the Kansas City Chief, won a Super Bowl with him the year before last when they won the Super Bowl. He's been training me since he was 10 years old. Then another kid named Trey McBride, play wide receiver. Now he's an actor now and doing commercials, man, living in the Sunshine State, man, of California, doing his thing. And he was a wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans and the Chicago Bears. And these are just people I'm naming off the top, man, of my head. Chris Murray, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So so I've had a good amount, man, and now we're finna get a good amount of them coming up in the 21, 22, 23, and 24 class.
Okay. All right. So right now we're about to do a shift. We're about to shift to the parents. All right. So what advice would you give to a parent that has an athlete that's gaining a lot of popularity in youth sports?
So it's gaining a lot of popularity in youth sports. Keep them humble, keep them grounded. And just tell them don't look too far down the road because you'll trip and fall over what's in front of you. We know the end goal is for your child to be a major D1 college football player in the NFL, but focus on being the best 5th grade or 6th grade or 7th grade player you can be this coming season. Because all those years will add up into, into better years. You know what I'm saying? And always make sure you put your kids around good competition. Like my son never played middle school football. Why? Because when he was, little league all the way up to the 8th grade, his travel teams were so competitive that they fly us, Battle Sports that flies to California, flies to Florida. They fly us around to play the best teams in the nation, and we beat them and stuff like that. And I told my son, you ain't gonna put double mileage on your body. You ain't gonna play middle school ball, 7th, 8th grade, then come over here and play park ball, travel ball. You're gonna pick one, and we're gonna find the one that's most competitive.
Okay, let's slow this down. Central Texas. I want y'all to pay attention to what this gentleman just said. He said middle school ball. So at the time, so the kid was like by 12, 13, like his 12 and 13-year-old years.
Yes, sir.
You went putting him on a travel team that went and seeked out better competition across
the better competition.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So some of our old YouTube videos got 500,000 views on it, 1 million views. We go play the DMV up in Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, and we play them guys. We come down to Florida and play them. We go play the California teams. We go play the Texas teams. We played the best teams, and we put our kids on a national stage to where they was playing good talent. They playing, so when they got to the 9th grade, my son's first year playing school ball was in 9th grade. When he got to 9th grade, it wasn't nothing to him to start on varsity or to play a lot on varsity because he used to playing on the big stage.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. How important was it to the organization that he was with? Like, give me some background and some detail about that organization and when they came together. Because a lot of times in youth sports, that's kind of like the thing that's hard to find. Something that's going to be in regarding of a travel ball. What should a parent should be looking for within that organization? Well, you know what did you saw in the organization you put your son
in? Great coaching. See, I know the real from the fake. I won't put my son with anything. See, whatever organization I put my son with, I was either the D coordinator or the defensive line coach. I always had my hands on it. But I know every parent doesn't have that. But I would always say, make sure you get around coaches that are, first of all, that are passionate about the development of that child. You know what I mean? And go to a program to where your son can play. Because at the end of the day, it's all about them playing and becoming a better football player from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. Don't go to a stacked program and your son is not that guy. Now you're son around the bench. You don't want to hurt his confidence and want him to hate football. Take him somewhere to where he's the man, to where he can play, he can build his confidence. At that age, it's all about confidence. And I always tell parents can, a kid's insecurities and confidence comes from the parents. You understand? It don't come from nobody else but the parent. So if the parent beat that kid up over dropping that ball or fumbling that ball or missing that tackle after the game, and you just ride him, now that it's lingering in his head. Like, dang. Now you messing with his confidence. Like when my son used to mess up, I get on him, I leave it alone. I don't say nothing else about it. I leave it alone. He already know he messed up.
I saw that. Yeah. Let's work on that. And
let's work on that. And I'm gonna correct it. I'm gonna correct it. Boom, this is what you need to do. But I ain't gonna sit there and beat him down over it. He just he's 11, 12-year-old kid. I'm gonna show him how to do it the right way. And like, okay, this is what you do, but that's how you become a better football player. You got to go through those, those school of hard knocks. But but that's what I would say, man.
All right. So, how important? Because I hear you saying how you had your son on YouTube and y'all got like over 500K likes and views and stuff like that. How important is marketing and promoting your child?
Man, that's real big. Like I tell these young people, when your son touched the 8th grade, 9th grade, he needs to be going to these FBU camps. Next Gen, I'm affiliated with both of them. I've been the D-line coach for FBU since 2019. That's a good program. Because they're former NFL players that's working with your son to give him good training and technique training and also good exposure. Find these camps that where your son can get the good exposure. He get on the 7-on-7 and compete and things like that. But that's what I would do. You got to get him on the scene early. 8th grade, 9th grade is more typical now. If your son, you waiting, and your son just not getting on the scene going into 11th grade year, and he's in the summertime, he's going to late. That's too late. Wow. You got to be in these 8th grade, 9th grade, and even sometimes 7th grade. Like my son, we had him playing on a national circuit by the time he was in 7th grade. Well, earlier than that, because they was number 11. When they were 11 years, they was number 1 in the nation. So they was on that circuit. He got his first offer at the end of his 9th grade year, going to his 10th grade year.
Okay.
So the kids don't want to be behind the 8 ball. You want to get out there and do what you can. Go to these college satellite camps where they have about 50 schools there, and just even if they're a 9th grader, get out there and get the experience of it. And during the wintertime, the March, the Aprils, the Mays, go to these showcases. That's gonna give your son. We can get the good competition that iron sharpens iron. Next Gen, Under Armour, our Rivals Camp, different things like that. There are a lot of camps throughout the nation. And sometimes when you're from Waco, you have to travel to a Dallas or Austin because they're gonna only go to the big cities. But that's good for that kid. He can get out of that small pond of Waco and kind of see where he's really at as far as competition.
Well, this is another question. We're talking about Waco, right? All right. For the parents who don't have the additional income or resources, what is something that they can do to give their child a chance?
A great question. I would say, of course, to make sure you have a lot of these children. Not all of them, but some of them don't have a daddy. And nowadays, you see the daddies involved in the children's lives, which is great. You know what I mean? But make sure they surround them with the right people. You know what I'm saying? If it's this church or a good mentor, things like that. If they may not have the money, like it's stuff you can look up on YouTube and do. and things like that. Or it's an investment either way. I tell parents, they find ways to buy their children $200, $300 sneakers. You see what I'm saying? That they find a way to do that. Why you can't find a way to, if you come up with that money for your child and do whatever you got to do, you should be able to pay for some training for your son to get some training. I'm gonna be honest with you, even if it's once or twice a week, because that's what's getting people ahead. It's an investment. Nobody has invested more than I have invested in my own child. I built the whole gym when my son was 7 years old. And I want to get him the best trainers. It was times where, hey, Susan, I wanted to close my gym because it was too much burden. Ain't nobody invested more money than I invested in my children and these other kids being successful. You see what I'm saying? So it's going to be an investment no matter how you look at it. If a parent say, oh, you come up with money to do this, you could come up with money. Then you ask a person, hey, can you come a discount or not, or find a sponsor. If they having a hard time coming up with the money, find a sponsor, but get them that extra training that they need. There are people out there that are willing to sponsor kids. They know that have the potential. And also get the kids a Twitter account. Let's go back to social media. Colleges offer kids on Twitter. You gotta have a Twitter account. They're gonna direct message every kid when they're 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and they're gonna ask for their phone number so they can give them a call so they can throw them out the offer. So every kid gotta have Twitter.
All right. With you having so much hands-on with the athletes, being in the NFL, you understand about the whole recruiting process. How important is the character of the parents and the athlete?
How important? Say it again.
How important is the character of the parent and also the athlete?
It's very important. You know, a lot of times that kid is a direct reflection of his parent. You know, if the parent is cocky, oh, I'm gonna do this, and my son is the best, and this and that. A lot of times, that child, 9 times out of 10 is gonna be the same way because they're leading by example of what they see. You know, but character is everything. I tell people there's a lot of good athletes out here, but majority of your good athletes are on the street. Why? Because talent will get you in the door, but talent won't keep you in that door. Yeah, you got to make the right, because there's a lot of pitfalls out here that these kids got to avoid. It's not just about being a good football player on the field. The enemy is not going to fight you where you are great. He's going to fight you. You're going to find a weakness, and he's going to try to expose that weakness. Well, if you like to smoke weed, okay, give it. Like to hang with the wrong crowd. That's where it's for all your grades. You're not a student. You're not an academic person. You know, you barely get by in your class. That's where he's going to get a lot of the kids. It's not on the football because he know he can't fight fair. He like, oh, they're going to win there, but I'm going to find where I can get them. You know what I'm saying? And that's where you get a lot of the kids, man. They get caught up in smoking weed. They get kicked out of school, stuff like that. Or they hanging with the wrong crowd. Or they get in the situation where they got a gun on them. It's just so much stuff. Hanging with the wrong crowd.
So that kind of rolls down to my last question I have for you, man. You done gave me an hour plus of your time, and I really appreciate it. But I had kind of started a series on YouTube, and it was about it's the hood athlete dream big. And you kind of spoke on a lot of the pitfalls that a lot of hood athletes kind of have to overcome. So what would be your answer to that question? Is the hood athlete dream big?
No, it's not. It's not. I think it's more alive than anything. I just think the hood athlete needs to get around people that can make them better. You know, get around people that see their potential. A high school coach, take them under their wing. You know, every young athlete, high school athlete, or hood athlete, whoever, should have somebody. If they don't have a positive role model in their house, they should find a positive role model, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a teacher, somebody where they can latch on to and learn everything from. You know what I'm saying? That's the key. Is making sure you got the right people in your corner, because a lot of these hood athletes getting this money and they don't know what to do with it because they don't have the right guidance. They getting you getting $500,000, $1 million, $300,000, $250,000, 18, 19 years old. man, it's like a train wreck waiting to happen if you don't know what to do with it. If you don't know how to put the right people around you, if you know how to get the financial advice, not people, but there are a lot of, how can I say it, yes men in their corner. They're going to tell them what they want to hear because they want to be close to them. Yeah, but you need more no men in your corner to tell you what you need to hear and not just what you want to hear. You see what I'm saying? And stuff. And tell this kid, man, this is where you come from, man. Your dad is in jail, man. You be the first person in your family to break generational curses and stuff like this. You must know the position that you're in. Somebody to remind them that every day. That's what's going to make the difference. So they'll know where they come from. They know that, I can't go back to that. You know, they hungry because them the kids that make it. The one because they hungry, man. They didn't have nothing given to them. They had to fight for everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, brother, I really appreciate it, classmate, man. Class 95, Waco High, man. We got
30-year reunion, 30 years.
I know it's still coming up soon, right? Hey, the link to this website and the social media, it's gonna be in the description. It's gonna be in the description of this YouTube. Follow him on Facebook, follow him on Instagram, follow him on Twitter. Hey, you heard it from himself, man. If you're in the Atlanta area and you got some training that need to be done, and even if you ain't in the Atlanta area, hey, schedule your kids. Fly them in. If you want your child to be the best, guess what? They need to work with the best. And somebody
they need to work with the best.
Somebody who done been there, done that, and it's gonna show you how to get it done the right way the first time. The only thing you have to do is what he said: just duplicate the process. Duplicate the process, man, to get you to the next level. Hey, man, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, man. You be safe where you at, man. Peace, love to you and your family. And till the next time, bro.
Hey, I appreciate it, Jesus. Thank you for having me on, man. And remember, y'all trust the process. That's what my shirt says. Trust the process.
Most definitely, man.